Hey, sexy people. All right, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Whatever you are, be a good one. And some of you guys want to be miserable bastards. I see y'all out there on the Twitters and the social media just complaining, joining other complainers and chat groups, just trying to get it in, create a whole network of just shitty living. That's fine. You're so free, you could choose bondage. And while some of us may be more into, joyous, peaceful, happy lives, it's not for you. You don't want to do all that stuff, the daily spiritual work and the gratitude journals and the, serving others and taking care of your body. You can't be bothered with it. And that's fine. I'm not here to judge. I'm here to serve you. Okay? Whatever makes you happy, or in this case, unhappy, is what I want to help you with. So I brought in the big guns. Mr. Earl Nightingale. Yes, old school human character development author and motivational speaker is going to help me help you get really, really good at feeling really, really bad. All right? Stick around. Welcome back. Tasha Caulfield here, writer, comedian, author of The Karen Feeding of Sex Symbols, here once again for us smart and sexy, pretty messes to help us feel more loved, secure, and on top of our world. All right, we got a lot to get into today, so I'm going to get straight into it. I'm going to start off a little light, and then I'm going to just kind of get heavier and heavier. And at the end, when I'm done, you may find that you have yourself here a nice little blueprint on how to create a life you really, really hate and return time and time again, to make sure you're still on track. Or you can decide that, a miserable life is more trouble than it's worth for you. Maybe you decide you actually prefer to be happy or something and watch my other videos then and try and get on that program, the program I'm normally on. Either way, these are the things that you need to be doing to ensure that you have a truly miserable existence. Okay, so the first thing we want to do if we want to have a miserable life is actually focus on trying to be happy. People like John Stuart Mill let us know that the only people who are happy are the people who have their minds fixed on something other than their own happiness. They get themselves caught up thinking about the happiness of others or the improvement of mankind or an art or a pursuit or something. And they do that as its own end, not as a means to happiness. And in doing that, they find happiness along the way. So we know that happiness is a byproduct of you losing yourself in, other things and other goals and stuff like that. So you want to stay fixed on how is this gonna make me happy? What's in this for me? Don't think about how you're doing something that could be giving to others or anything that will cause you to, just really get into it. Stay fixed on your own happiness and it will make you'll be good. You won't find it. There'll be no serendipity allowed in your world. But that's easier said than done because even without trying to, technically you can get lost in the current work that you're doing. It can actually become a meaningful vehicle for your life if you allow it to. So the next thing you got to do is try not to see any value in your work. Don't think about positive, things that it could be doing for you or for others and how it could be serving. Take it for granted. Take everything you get used to for granted. But you definitely want to do that here. This will lead to feelings of purposelessness, confusion, uncertainty, unhappiness, boredom, just a ton of really awesome, horrible stuff. So you want to, take it for granted. Don't start polishing things off that you're used to and looking at them and new and interesting ways, because that's going to lead to new and interesting experiences. And we don't want that. We want to really, keep our world small and dim and sad and just don't see any value in any of the work you do and take everything for granted. So the next thing you want to do is focus on things you don't like. If it's a beautiful day out, focus on that one cloud in the distance that's kind of threatening to ruin everything. When you think about other people, like focus on what you consider their defects and not, the good qualities that they may have. If you get 5 B's on a report card, think of the one C. If you get a bunch of positive comments, think about the few negative one. Like, always think about what's like wrong with everything, not what's right. On the window of the world, see only the fly specks. Okay, this is really, really going to guarantee you have a really, just sucky experience. And I highly recommend social media for this. Like, that is a what I hate gold mine, okay? Okay, so the 5th thing is don't make time for recreation. Recreation is recreation. Time for you to recreate yourself and reevaluate things like your life and your hobbies and your contributions and your reasons for living and your relationships and goals and all that kind of stuff. Like, you don't want to take time off, and don't do it regularly, especially if you so happen to do it, do it once or twice. But you don't want to do this regular time off to do things that renew you, hiking, traveling, gardening, cooking, painting. Well, like things that I mentioned in, stuff like my book, The Art of Laziness, which I'll link below. A good life feeds off of the 3 S's: self-identification, stimulation, and security. And when you take that time to, rediscover your identity, that'll lead to change, which will stimulate you, which will also help with inner security. And you can't have things like inner security, you can't have for a miserable life. Like that doesn't work. All right, you want to know that when the ship is going down, you're going down with it, okay? So if it helps, focus solely on your goals and not the journey to get there. Think it's more important to get where you're going and not how you get there. Like, life is about self-discovery along the way of like who you are and things and becoming the person that achieves certain things. And when you start asking questions like, who am I and what do I want and why do I want that? And am I using my talents and abilities to, the fullest potential and things like that? You start to create an awareness of what you want and therefore who you need to become the person who gets that. So not only will you get like a clarity of who you are, that'll feel good, but you'll also achieve your goals that way. So those are all things that'll conflict with having a miserable life. You want to make things like peace, joy, achieving your goals and all that kind of stuff, this vague outward, outer thing. Place all your goals and everything outside of you and think you got to just kind of march towards that in an external way. And don't think that, don't look inward. And on top of that, place the idea of you being happy into the future. Like, have a mentality like, someday when I can afford to buy a piano, I'm going to sit down and play beautiful music. Like, think one day, when I achieve a certain thing or get to a certain stage, or when I get this, like, I'm going to be happy. Like, keep it in the future. Not only because happiness can only be in the present, but it's a mentality that needs to be cultivated and practiced. So you're really doing yourself a favor with that one. And if you really want to double down on your miserability in this area, this is a good one. Worry about the future and relive in your mind the mistakes you made in the past. I mean, this will really, really make you feel like crap. We're doing everything we can to not enjoy the present, remember, because this is all we have. So instead of just like making plans for the future and laying them down, we want to stew and fret over things in the future, because the future is only going to be made up of the type of days we're living now, vibrationally and energetically. Like, we're just going to get more of the same. In other words, today is your future. So not only will you be having a miserable time in the present, you are creating a bright, miserable future for yourself. So, doesn't get any better than that. It really is amazing at how powerful not choosing to live your best life in the present is at creating a miserable life. Like, even in studies, a lot of old people have expressed regret. They said they waited too long to start living. Like, how good is regret for a miserable life? So what we've learned here is wait as long as you can. Like, hold out. Like, wait as long as you can before fully living. Take life for granted and only really start living and cherish it when your days are threatened to be taken away from you. You know, things like happiness and joy and your life, and like treat it like fine china or car seats with car covers, like meant for someone else to enjoy. Like, that's how we want to look at life. The next thing you're going to want to do is think that you're always supposed to feel content, like all the time. Ignore the fact that life is about growth, and that not only is the pain that comes with experiencing things that you don't want the catalyst for you to understand what you do want, but when you get what you do want, that's only going to make room for you to want more, which is also accompanied by discontent. You know, use this knowledge of creation to your miserable advantage, and let the frequent feeling of divine discontent frustrate the hell out of you. Like, delude yourself into thinking that you're supposed to be happy all the time, or if you only had this, you would be happy. And let yourself resent the hell out of what it takes for your evolution. Okay, number 11, or whatever number we're on. Get wrapped up in yourself and your problems, real or imagined. Like, you don't have to be even real. Become an island. Like, just focus on yourself, and like to the exclusion of everybody else and everything around you and the world around you. Like, let the world become like just this distant, foggy thing where you just notice every once in a while when you bump into it. You know, this is great because when you just like turn inward that way and you just focus exclusively in like that, you don't let anything else in. Like, you don't get any wisdom or anything. You just become a vacuum. And in that vacuum, you get to just start making stuff up, you know, like about yourself, because that's all you're thinking about. You know, like you think like the world is against you or something, and no one's checking for you. Like, nobody even like worried about you that much. Or you can like, you know, now you got illnesses. You're thinking like, oh, you know, you can start telling people who don't really care about you about your illnesses. And maybe for a little bit, they'll like start to give you a little attention or sympathy or whatever. But eventually it'll become obvious that they don't really care that much, which will lead you to getting bitter. Like, bitterness is like, that's like butter on bread for miserability. And so, yeah, you want to let yourself get wrapped up in this like self-important thing you got that'll delude yourself that like into demanding a fictitious good out there in the world that is just breeding ground for bitterness. So yeah, focus on yourself and your problems, real or imagined. Don't hone in on what you want, and be okay with moving steady, slowly, but surely in the direction of your goals. Like, pursue anything and everything that looks good, regardless of your own sentiments or proclivities or biases or things like that. Like, if it looks good, go after and try to get it as fast as you can. Like, you do not want to enjoy the journey. You don't want a steady foundation under you for storms. You want, you know, to just be able to get knocked around. Like, you know, be reckless. Like, don't be steady and unswerving in your approach to life. Like, if it looks good, even if it's not designed to make you happy, go for it. And even if it is designed to make you happy, despise the day of small beginnings and try as many shortcuts as you can. Like, this is going to make sure that lots of time goes by where you have nothing to show for it at the end of it, and you're just going to be absolutely miserable. You know, at the end, like, absolutely miserable. It's great. All right, now for love and marriage. Love and marriage. They say the secret to a happy marriage is courtesy. So, for the love of God, do not, by any means necessary, treat the people closest to you, the people you love, with courtesy or respect. Like, a life you hate has no chance in the face of happy, harmonious relationships. Okay, we have to act like, you know, to be able to achieve that. The secret to them is mysterious, unknown. You know, Einstein couldn't even crack the code. Like, it's got to be darn near impossible. Can't be as simple as courtesy or thoughtfulness or kindness or respect. Like, those type of things just keep love alive and fresh. And for you to have a life you hate, you have to take stuff for granted. So please, no courtesy, at least to your partner. Like, if you have to be courteous, be it to the people on the outside, like, you know, in the streets, at work, whatever. Like, don't come home, don't bring that in the house. Okay? Like, you get what you put out. You'll get that back. And if you start giving love and affection, you'll get that back. And that's toxic, absolutely toxic to a miserable life. Like, before you know it, your kids are observing it, and then they grow up and they create, courteous and kind and loving relationships, and they're happy, and that would make you happy. It just doesn't end. Like, don't. Okay, so the next thing you're doing is thinking and acting like time is standing still. Like, life as you know it will last forever. Like, have that mentality. Like, don't live your days to the fullest as if they're limited or something like that. Like, save up your living for the weekends or holidays or birthdays only, and just focus on killing time, because time is all you have. So you're really killing a part of yourself. Huh? This will also help with your taking for granted of people and everything, because you'll think that, we all have this abundance of time, and you can, spend it lacking patience and tolerance for others and being unkind to them, because, they have all of eternity to get it right how to treat you. So until they do, like, you don't have to, be nice to them or kind or whatever, appreciate them. Like, wait until they become absolute perfect, because they got a zillion years, until you actually throw them a bone and make their life any easier. Like, if you're unhappy, why should they be happy? Misery loves company. Okay, with this next one, you've probably heard this advice a lot from people who are like, try to lead people to be happy and healthy and whole and all that kind of stuff. I'm even kind of guilty of giving this advice a good deal. And that's to trust yourself. But here, like, forget about it, okay? We are not trusting ourselves one lick. Like, one lick. Here we're all about envy and imitation. Like, envy is ignorance and imitation is suicide. So we are envying and imitating the hell out of people. All right, envy is ignorance, because to do it, you have to not know what's inside of you. And imitation is suicide, because to do that, you have to kill off what's natural in you. What's inside of you is like a power that's new in nature, absolutely never been created before and never will be duplicated again. And if you start like learning about your own strengths and things like that, like, you're gonna have no need for envy or imitation. You're just gonna be cultivating things like self-love and, self-confidence and all that, stuff like that. Like, you'll feel better about yourself. Instead, you want to drown in the nervous, anxious, unhappy life that comes with trying to imitate others. Trust me, you'll be much, 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 much more miserable that way. And pro tip, if you have kids, you can get them started on this track a little early by encouraging them to be like others, or saying things like, why can't you be more like so-and-so? Like, it's really good for the family. So yeah, don't trust yourself, and look at what the next man's doing and try to do that. And if you really want to level up, since everybody knows that what makes a person happy is dependent on their personal nature, try to find happiness in doing things that you think will make other people happy. Like, this will lead to an identity trap, which comes out of thinking that either you should be different than the way you are, or that others should be behaving the way you would. This is creme de la creme of miserable thinking, by the way. These are gems. Like and subscribe. Like, with the first one, you get stereotypical behavior from yourself that's got nothing to do with what you want and your authentic self, and you're miserable that way. And then with the second way of thinking, you're pissed off because you want people to betray their own desires and things that they want to make you comfortable. So either way, you win. Like, this is awesome. It's maximum pissosity. This next one's hard to do because everywhere you turn in society, people are trying to get you to do the opposite. You know, songs aren't safe, movies aren't safe, nowhere is safe. But listen, if you want a life you hate, you cannot cherish your dreams or visions or ideals or anything like that. You know, you can't honor the music that stirs in your heart or the beauty that forms in your mind or any of that stuff. Like because good stuff will come out of it. Like, just trust me. Yeah, like don't pay attention to it, snuff it out, because you'll just keep drifting towards them otherwise. It's like a magnet. It'll just keep kind of pulling you. You can't travel within and stand still without. Don't even think about it. Definitely don't do anything that'll help you achieve your dreams. Like stick to habits that do not serve you. We not only do you risk potential embarrassment, like doing stuff, but you risk jeopardizing the miserable life that you got going for you. So ignore your dreams, ideals, vision, all that kind of stuff. Like, don't give it any airtime, and really just stay focused on the goal, which is to hate your life. And finally, if you want to create a life you hate, make your happiness conditional on circumstances. That's right. Let circumstances dictate how you feel and how you act. And just relinquish all control of how you experience life in that way. Like, believe it or not, your attitude actually will determine how you experience life. And you know, plenty of people have figured out how to rise above situations and, you know, feel good in the face of adversity. And you need to not do that. Do not try to rise above anything. Do not try to see any, you know, positivity or beauty in the everyday life. And just be completely lazy with your thoughts. Let yourself take on a mentality that so many are willing to share with you, that will just focus on what's lacking. You know, what you feel is lacking in you and what you feel is lacking in the world around you. Like, just kind of let yourself drift off and absorb those thoughts, and not steer yourself in the direction of thinking about and appreciating what you have going for you and what's good, you know, within you and in the world around you. In the window of the world, see only the fly specks. And like this video. And subscribe and hit the notification bell. And until next time, remember that this is Tasha Caulfield reminding you to stay sexy.